Okay, moving right along. Next up, we've got Amandip Singh, VP Corp Dev at Apollo Silver Corp. I'm going to welcome him to the stage, and we're going to have a little chat on the assets and Apollo.
Right on.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah, where do we sit?
Just these middle two. Okay, let's get right into it. I'm curious to ask you, and just to kind of spread a bit of perspective for the audience. Can you walk us through the two assets in Mexico and in California, and kind of give kind of a quick look in terms of what they are, where they are, and upside?
Yeah, certainly. So I think that's a great place to start. We are a silver exploration development story. We've got our flagship asset. It's the Calico project out in California, San Bernardino County. There's always a tale of multiple Californias, and people are a bit weary of investing there, but we're in San Bernardino County. We're located between Rio Tinto's Borax mine, and on the other side of us we have Castle Mountain, Equinox's Castle Mountain. There's about 161 million ounces of silver in the ground there. It is the United States' largest undeveloped primary silver asset. Moving forward, we also just recently signed an option to acquire the Cinco de Mayo asset from MAG Silver. This is an asset that most people are very familiar with. At one point in time, it was MAG Silver's flagship asset until access was lost there for a number of reasons in the community, and we certainly look to turn that around and unlock that value. And I also think if you look at in our history of being a company, I think the acquisition of those assets kind of speaks to our skill set as a team. We're well versed in M&A, and those are two transactions that we've done with two of the premier silver companies out there. Right.
So we'll kind of get into Cinco de Mayo, the kind of Mexican renaissance I think we're kind of seeing.
Absolutely.
With the likes of, not necessarily just Discovery, but, some of the, obviously the MAG transaction, Luca, Heliostar. There's been the gold price has effectively acted as a bit of a fuse for some of the more junior explorers and kind of, smaller producers in terms of multiple expansion. But can you kind of give the audience perspective on the team and some of the recent additions that have kind of come on the board and advisory roles?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been very fortunate to attract the likes of Ross McElroy to take on our CEO position. Ross McElroy, obviously a Fission Uranium fame, just sold the company for $1 billion at the end of last year. So we are more than excited to have him. If you kind of look at our recent share price performance, I think he's got quite a following and has brought in some key investors with him. Jackie Przybylowski was added to our board, and a lot of people know her as a very, very recognized award-winning mining analyst. So certainly, we have a lot of bench strength on our board that can help us further our ambitions.
Great. So Cinco de Mayo, just kind of want to get into the weeds on this one. And, you kind of think about what makes success stories within the exploration and development framework. And it's rocks and people, right? You got to have the right rocks, you got to have the right asset, but you got to have the right people to unlock it. So obviously you kind of started off and you mentioned that there's been, a couple issues with the asset with respect to, working within communities and whatnot. So what do you think the team, and what are the strengths of the team to kind of unlock the value of Cinco de Mayo differently?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we've got a great technical team to begin with. So, once we are down on the ground, I think there's a lot of opportunities, a lot of targets we have to follow up on, and I think we're well equipped to do so. But we don't really have technical risk there. We've got some social situations that we've got to resolve, and I think we are a team. And if you look at our overall group, Andy Bowering's group, we have done this before, and that gives us the confidence that we can do this again. Prime Mining being a directly analogous story. The Los Reyes asset was held by Minera Alamos. It was a similar situation where the community was opposed to any operations happening there, and by and large, people thought that this was a situation that could never be resolved. We managed to purchase that asset for $9 million, and we walked away with 30-year mining agreements with the community. And this is based on a tacit approach to community engagement, investing in the community. And if you look at Prime Mining now, that's it's become one of the sort of class-leading blue chip exploration stories with phenomenal shareholder base, and it's 300 million market cap in a very short period of time.
Yeah, and so that's I'm kind of happy you brought that up because this year we've seen the developers and the explorers work in the market, right? I think that's no one's doubting that. But given where we are now and kind of taking a forward-looking view, How do you think investors should look for value within the explorers, and do you think there's still multiple expansion to be had within the silver tape, within
Sure.
smaller assets?
Absolutely. Well, I think there's a few things that you have to look at. You have to mitigate your risk. So you got to look at, is it a team that's got a track record of doing this? Obviously, our silver is no better than anyone else's silver. We don't necessarily compete for the end client. We compete for capital. So the ability to raise capital, I think, is something that is a team you should go with. We have had we've had tremendous success raising money. On top of that, liquidity. You should look for our stock trades quite well. We do about 1.5 million shares a day, which I think is, in excess of our peers. And again, look for who are you co-investing with. I think at Apollo Silver, when you look at our shareholder registry, you look at our major shareholders, you have the ability to co-invest with some of the best resource investors out there. Jupiter Asset Management is our largest shareholder. Our chairman is our largest shareholder, Andy Bowering, followed by Jupiter Asset Management, Commodity Capital, Terra Funds out of Australia, PrimeVest, and that's just to name a few. And certainly we are attracting more and more of that institutional following.
Great. So kind of back to Cinco de Mayo. I realize we're kind of jumping around the place here, but I'm a big fan of carbonate replacement type deposits because I think there's kind of a quote-unquote Lassonde curve loophole in terms of building value, right? You can de-risk the project
Sure.
from a technical perspective, from a financial perspective, but you can also continue to build value through exploration, right? So you can kind of go back and continue to build value as you're getting multiple expansion with respect to those cash flows towards commercial production. Can you kind of walk us through the strategy for value creation with respect to Cinco de Mayo? And is there any kind of technical meat on the bone left in terms of any exploration upside that's worth highlighting or speaking to?
Absolutely. So for starters, from just a strict value standpoint corporately, we look at the Cinco de Mayo asset, again, a well-known asset. When Mag Silver lost access to that asset, they lost nearly $400 million in market cap in 2012. It is not a stretch to think regaining access, getting on the ground should restore, most, if not all of that 400 million. But to address your concern about what is there outside of that? Well, it's a 23,000 hectare land package, and it's large enough to have a fully intact CRD system where, there are skarn targets there. There's distal epithermal targets yet to be drilled off. And, one of the biggest value drivers for any exploration company is discovery. And you'd be hard-pressed to find a company that can guarantee you a discovery. And we like to joke around the office that we will guarantee the market a discovery. And that comes from the fact that if you look at the story or the work that Mag Silver did, just prior to losing access, they drilled this area called the Pegaso Zone. The Pegaso Zone was 61 meters of massive sulfides at tremendous grades. Unfortunately, some of the turmoil in the community made more prominent headlines than drill hole results. So by and large, the investment community's forgotten about this Pegaso Zone. We look to go in there, and our first sort of targets are to drill this off, bring that new discovery into the broader attention of the markets there. And I think it's a spectacular opportunity. It is outside the existing historic resource that is on Cinco de Mayo.
Gotcha. Guaranteed discovery. I'm going to hold you that.
Absolutely. No, and you guys heard it here. You heard it here first. That we will certainly bring that into the limelight.
So just on that, can you walk the rest of the audience through what to expect in terms of drilling catalysts, in terms of other market-facing catalysts, and how you're going to manage news flow over the next 6 to 9 months?
Yeah, certainly. So I think we're taking a two-pronged approach to this. I mean, our California asset is certainly something that commands attention and has a lot of value. So we're doing certain things there. We're doing a barite resource. Barite was just put on the critical metals list. By bringing the barite resource current, we think that we're going to get some permitting relief or maybe some sort of fast tracking with the new policies in the United States. That's happening. We should have an updated resource towards the end of the summer. Outside of that, we're going to start a PEA at Calico at the end of the year. Hopefully the results of that will be out in the first half of the year. But from a Cinco de Mayo standpoint, what we're looking at is, we will have the restrictions on mining overturned. I think that will be a big news item. Negotiating a surface rights agreement, I think that'll be, give the market comfort that this isn't just a one-off, that we're allowed to go do some drilling or what have you. And then certainly go in there and execute on the 20,000 meters of drilling that will satisfy the option to acquire the asset.
Fantastic. Okay. Alrighty.
Yeah,
Thank you, sir, for doing this.
Well, yeah, guys, thank you so much for having us.
Thank you, Amandip.